Welcome to the Wealth Luncher podcast, and in the studio we've got Steve and Jayne. Hey guys, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
We're good, thank you.
Yeah, what you been up to today?
I've just had lunch with a couple of girlfriends in Ellerslie and just made my way in here.
Oh, how
School
nice.
holidays as well, so
Yeah.
I've got the kids keeping me busy too.
And you just mentioned earlier you just came back from Europe.
Yes, just had a couple of weeks in Italy and Croatia.
How was that?
Beautiful, sunny, warm.
And then you mentioned before that you said you just done a property trade deal.
Yeah, I've just completed a deal in Mount Wellington, a little 2-bedroom brick and tile unit.
Okay. Bought, sold it?
Bought and sold, bought, renovated and sold within, it was 14 weeks, I think.
Did it pay for your holiday?
Yeah.
Nice deal.
That's what I mean. Like, in poverty, you don't pay for your child school fee, your car, and your holiday. You are a living example of that, and it just happened. So good on you.
Yeah.
So Steve, what's the relationship between you and Jayne? How long you've been working together on properties and?
Well, I'm thinking it's probably about 2013 we met, off the top of my head, thereabouts. Feel free to correct me.
2009.
2009.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to have to edit that. Really?
Yeah, I'm sure it was 2009 because I bought my first property in 2009, I think, in
Oh, God.
Auckland.
You see, I forget how long we've been doing this. That's a long time.
Right. Okay. And what was your role for Jayne at the time? You were mentoring her, giving her advice.
Yeah. So I met Jayne because Jayne came along to a seminar that I was involved in, and that was basically everything from the very, very fundamentals of what's property as an asset and why it's so popular with so many Kiwis, and really just beginning to teach people that the basic approaches of it is actually doable by everybody, but you have to put some time and effort and homework into doing it.
Did you find it was helpful, Jayne?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was a mother of 3 young children at the time.
Okay.
I probably had next to no money in the bank, and I'd just been made redundant. I don't know if you knew that at the
Wow.
time.
Don't think you told me that, but
So I had 3 children under 3. I had no money, and I was running out of options. So I thought, I'll go along to this property seminar that Steve was running,
And what
and
changed?
see what they've got to say.
What changed at that seminar?
Well, it just sort of clicked. Like I've always been interested in property, always,
Yeah.
since forever. And when I went along to the seminar, they were talking about property trades and holds, and something. Yes, it just clicked what they were saying. It just made sense.
Okay. So after that, you took up the coaching program.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had no money, and I
This
said,
is
"Yeah,
really
sign me
interesting.
up."
Yeah.
I think it was. I can't remember how much it was. It was thousands.
hey,
It was under 10,000 anyway, and
these things cost what they cost.
yeah, and so I didn't have the money, but I signed up,
Right.
and my husband was there with me at the time, and he's a builder, so
Okay.
that was handy.
Yeah.
And he was a semi-professional rugby player, so he was like on board from the beginning because he's a builder, he understands property.
So how many property would you traded in the next 3 years after that?
I think I had a property in Wellington to sell first to kind of get some momentum, to get some equity. But I'd say probably quite slow in the first year, but I was probably trading about 4 or 5 properties a
Wow.
year after that.
Yeah.
You bought some buy and holds in the first year,
Yeah.
rather than trading.
Yeah.
And just to take a step back, Jayne's not letting on that she's actually got 2 degrees, one of them in finance, so she's a pretty clever cookie.
I see.
And that said, it's interesting that even when you do all that stuff at university, you don't get taught what goes on in the real market about what to do with real products. So you have to go out and learn that through experience or tag along with somebody who's doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, and Jayne took to it like a duck to water. And Jack's skill as a builder is very helpful because, I mean, you obviously talk to him about what a property might need in the way of renovation and all those kinds of things from time to time.
Yeah.
So then you get your structures in place. So Steve's role was to be your eyes and ears. When you look at the property, he analysed the deal for you. He will give you some advice how good it is or what's not good about it.
Yeah, he was. He just gave the basics of your sale and purchase agreement, the clauses to use, and then once I put my my offers in with due diligence. He'd analyse the deal and say whether it was too high or low or anything that I wouldn't have thought of.
So after all of that year that you know Steve now, what does that training program now has ingrained to you? You now can fly an aeroplane now, you know what to do, you can analyse things.
Yeah, it just gave me the confidence to analyse the deals based on the numbers. Really getting to know a market before you kind of initially buy a property, and having the confidence to not be overwhelmed by the thousands of the money that you're spending.
So if
getting over the fear.
Thinking about what you now, and you just mentioned the word fear,
yeah.
Let's say reverse the role going back to 2009, and if you didn't know what you know and didn't go through any coaching program, would you be able to have the same confidence as you have today?
I don't think I would have had the confidence to actually even probably start, because I just didn't have the vision, and I didn't realise what property could do for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, getting in the right mindset and pushing through the fear of the big numbers is one thing, but also having the confidence in yourself once you know the market.
So Steve, you would have, I don't know how many chances you went to the program similar, or some people might even be more nervous, or some will say, I'll take this on and I'm going to go 100 miles an hour and do whatever. So I guess different finance, different income, different level of success. You would have seen a lot of the people go through your coaching program and that.
Well, I had, Don, and there's a huge variety of things. But the interesting thing is, like, where I come from a family where, my grandmother was delivering milk in big steel churns the day before she had my father on an old Chevy truck that was a leftover from World War II, right? So from a point of view of technology and all those things that we've learned, we've come a huge way in a short space of time. But a lot of the people from that generation, my father's generation, were very scared of money. Like, seriously, if you took a checkbook out, my dad would leave the room.
Right.
Because of the Great Depression and all the impact of all those things that we had after that. So those things to get confidence in someone took a long, long time to peter through. So in the end, I basically paid at least the equivalent of an MBA and learning how to do property investing before I even started really getting into it. But it is true to say that when I made the mental commitment to do it, I went all in on everything. So from day one, for example, the first thing I did was set up literally all of the legal structures to carry me forward forever from there. And I've never changed it.
So you went through hundreds of millions of properties during your time coaching now. How long have you been a coach?
Wow, that's that's the embarrassing thing. It's now 10 years already.
10 years. And so currently you work in our company as a project marketing manager, and how many millions of properties or hundreds of millions that you're in charge of right now?
Well, I mean, we are marketing at least $1 billion worth of product. People entrust me with $400,000 marketing programs routinely. We're negotiating at a pretty senior level. I have developers will say to me, okay, we'll take your strategy on board, and this might be in a $25 million subdivision with land sections at $850. And if I say to them, I want you to say no to this person and do this and do this, they just do it. And that's a pretty powerful position to be in, but equally, we've been in the market, digging the holes, knocking our knees around. I've been renovating before work, renovating after work when I used to do that. You know what I mean? I'd be up at 5, drive to a site, renovate, throw the kitchen on the lawn, literally, get in the car, go and start
compared
work,
compared to what you have access to now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So what have you got access to? $1 billion project, and that's nationwide, but not only just nationwide, but also internationally as well.
That's true.
So let me backtrack you and Jayne back to 2009 period, 2010, 2011, 2012. You had one model: buy property, do up, renovate, sell. That was a sole model.
Not quite. I dabbled in other things as well.
Okay.
I actually left my job in 2008 to go and speculate on buying and selling apartments full time.
Right.
And when the GFC hit.
Okay.
That's when I sold my assets to go and do that.
But having access to all our product that we have now to provide to the wealth venture people, would you say it's now got a more variety?
Oh, it's so much easier from a point of view of having products that you can access in a variety of different ways. The funding's so much easier on new product to be straight,
Yes.
than the older stuff. It's actually amazing. But I've always been a believer in having multiple strategies at play. So even in real estate, you should always have a short, medium, and long-term play for income. The same with property investing. Obviously, holding for the long term is where the big money is, but you need to consider other opportunities if they don't work for that basket. And if they don't work for this basket, you try another basket. But
Right.
the main thing is never to have a lazy dollar.
So if we're going back to Jayne now, let's just go back 5 years, 7 years. If we have what we have today to provide to Jayne 7 years ago, or all the other mentoring students 7 years ago, where would you see their position today if what we have today to provide them what was 7 years ago?
Well, it's just so much easier from a modeling point of view. I could say, well, do this with your personal portfolio because that will take your personal equity to this place quicker. That means that we can get you more money to go and play with in this market. On the other hand, while we're waiting for that to happen, we can go and do this with a lower deposit in the meantime. So it really is having a full set of tools to work with.
Yeah. So Jayne, how old are your kids now? Obviously 2008, you had 3 kids. How old are they now?
My oldest is almost 14, and I've got twin 11-year-olds.
Oh wow. Okay. So school holiday right now?
Yes.
Did you take it on Europe with you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I wanted a relaxing holiday.
Well, I was asking Jayne before, are we at the stage in the school holidays where the kids are fighting you, because that's
Right.
always the worst part.
Well, I think my son right now is over his mate's house, and the dog at home is eating his plant. So we've got this competition at home, me and my son, growing sunflowers. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So he's 11. He decided to grow sunflowers. So we went to Palmer's garden and we bought sunflower seeds. So we bought 4 packets, 2 each. And he wanted to buy some terracotta pots. I said, no, just get these plastic ones, saving money, $5 a plastic, $20 a terracotta. Went home, planted the seeds. And he was overwatering his plant. So I said, why you're not watering mine? He said, we're in competition. So he doesn't water my plant. Well, I, being busy, don't water my plant. Sunflower doesn't need much water. It grows taller than him. And then, so there was a competitive edge, and that's what he does now. Today, he left his pot plant outside the deck, so the dog went and ate the plant, so I'm ahead. I'm ahead in that sense in the competition. But teaching your kids to have that competitive edge at an earlier age is the key to their development into their teenager, adulthood. So now you've got a 14-year-old, 10 years time, the 14 will be 24, the twins will be 22. They're 11 now?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be 22. Knowing what you know, and this is the whole thing about Wealth Ninja, is about breaking the cycle. Knowing what you know about property, would you be able to teach them what to do when they get to that stage where they want to do?
Yeah, well, I've, the boys being boys, they're always talking about, their first car or
Right.
their first, and their job, the first job they're going to have. And I'm always saying, well, before you even get that car, you need to get into property because you need somewhere to live before you,
Yeah.
spending all the money on the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also teaching them, like depreciating assets because at a young age
Yes.
they don't understand. I said, your car value is going to go down, down, down.
Yeah.
And your car payments are probably, going along, and then you've got nothing to show for it. But with property, the property value goes up
Yeah.
long term over time, and your mortgage payments go down. So at the end of the day, you've got to.
Do you take them to some of these property you bought? Show them
Yeah,
what it looks like?
I do, but they're
Okay.
kind of like,
Yeah, well, that's true. That's what they do. But if they keep on seeing it, hearing it every day,
yeah,
Yeah.
you and your husband talk about, hey, we bought this, we done it out, we sold it, we make this much money.
yeah,
Subconsciously, they're going to remember that, aren't they?
yeah, I think
Yep.
so, yeah.
Well, my daughter, she's turning 18. I'll tell you a story about my daughter. She's sending, my wife always want my daughter to go and get a job. Right, so first she should go private school, she go to the gym in the morning, and she wants her to get a job at Face Choice down the road from where we live.
Yeah.
She go and pay $40 to get her nails done, and then she wants to work in a supermarket. And I said, no, I don't want you to work in a supermarket because you should go and become self-employed. So then I went to this coffee shop one day, and this guy Ted came out and he said, "Hey, I received a CV from your daughter, Jasmine Ha." I said, "What for?" I said, "She wants a job here." I said, "Please don't give her a job." So why I say that was, I said, "Why don't you go and buy some soap bottles?" And I got a guy that imports dishwashers, for $3.99. You can have one of those. You put it online, sell it for $4.99. You just sell 10 dishwashers. What, you make $1,000? Why do you want to go and work in a cafe? So in the very early days, I'm teaching them to become self-employed, trading like that. So obviously, you teach your kids now a similar thing in properties, and the whole idea for us is break that cycle. When they go to work, they bought their first home, they sell it, they make money, and that's what generation change is what all about, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think the schools are doing enough to give them the financial education they need, so we have to do it ourselves.
So what's your goal for the next 2 years and 5 years? What do you want to do?
I want to obviously buy more property, but and get myself into a position where I can do that. Because you get to a certain point and you kind of get a bit stagnant, especially when the market's been quite flat. And over the last few years, I kind of pulled back a bit.
And what are the best things about having a coach like Steve that can give you? What are the good values about Steve?
Well, firstly, he gives you the confidence and the knowledge, most importantly. But just giving you the skills, the negotiation skills, confidence to do it, and the mindset, I think.
It's an interesting thing because one of the first real estate agents that I ever called, right, and I had a coach at the time, was I won't name the name, but I looked at the numbers numerically, absolutely cold. He didn't care about the vendor situation. That I was just trying to work out, could I make money out of this as a rental investment? So I did the numbers and said, okay, this is my number. Call this agent up with my offer, and she just hit the roof, like absolutely, utterly ballistic. I'm holding the phone out here, and my wife and I were shocked. We'd never heard language like it in our lives, right? This is back in the days before all the rules. Yeah. And we couldn't get over it for about 2 hours. We called our coach, and he, after laughing his head off, he said, "What's her name? I'm going to call her."
But in fact, I know, you remind me now, did I sell your house?
Yes.
That's how we met?
Not quite. No, we actually met at a property seminar as well.
Okay.
06 thereabouts.
Yeah.
But in 09 you sold a property for me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So through this network of programs, not only we become friends, but you do meet a lot of good people, don't you? And they become your friends.
Yeah.
And keep for life.
Yep. Yeah. It's networking is very important in the property industry, I think, because you need a lot of people that think along the same lines as you, and also the knowledge, and you talk a lot with different people all the time. What's happening in the market, what's happening with the banks, what's happening with the agents and on the selling side. So
yeah, I mean, just to step back a little bit, part of that actually is also learning the language and the jargon, right?
Yes.
And so if you've never been in a situation like that before and haven't had a conversation with somebody who's commercially alert and sensitive, like an agent who's done a lot of transactions, that's really intimidating. And I get a lot of phone calls back from clients saying, "Oh, they told me this," and I went, "Okay," and that takes time and practice to get better at. So one of the key things a coach can do for you is to give you some lines to run that you can say with some relative confidence and get you started. And also, when they know that you understand the numbers, then there's a level of BS they won't throw at you.
Yeah.
And they'll start to take you seriously. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, guys. Well, thanks for coming today, and we're looking forward to work with you more and more in the near future, Jayne. And thanks, Steve.
Sorry, Don, if I can, just before we do that. So what would you say to people thinking about coming along, getting involved in property? Should they go to a seminar? Should they run like the plague? How did you find that whole experience of stepping in from basically not much exposure to it?
I firstly would say, definitely go along to a seminar because, you listen to what you guys have got to say.
Right.
And the penny will drop. It does make sense. I mean, people don't think, when you first go along and you talk to agents about properties, you listen to the agent. Like, agents don't always tell you what you need to know. And whereas, education through mentoring and coaching gives you the right knowledge.
Yeah, well, going back to the beginning, I wish I had coaching. I don't know where I would be right now. I did everything by myself, but these days coaching is available. And if it was going back to 1991, if I had the coach then, I don't know, I'll be having my own private chat by now.
And I think having the right coach and the right skilled people around you, it fast tracks everything.
Yeah,
because you can spend a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, I went to every seminar. I actually worked for free for I don't know how many hours and so on, doing everything I could to go along to anything that was going to just soak up as much information as I could. And you kind of have to get involved first and, be a client before, and then prove,
funny you say
stuff.
that, because even today, as I'm successful today, I have $1 billion asset for sale around the country. I travel the world to be a guest speaker. But whenever I meet someone who has got more knowledge than me in that particular area, I will make myself available anytime to spend time with this person to learn from them. And even sometimes I do things that doesn't pay me because I want to learn from that person, even today, still now.
Absolutely.
It hasn't changed for me.
Yeah. I think people forget that other people who are successful at something don't always have the time just to give it away 100% of the time to teach people for nothing. But if you can get involved and assist and say, well, I'll do this I used to run PowerPoints or carry the water bottles or whatever, But certainly I know that you've been very helpful in the past in that respect, and I'm sure that you've picked up extra bits as well. Because sometimes it might be that one thing you hear for the third, fifth, sixth, seventh time, and then it'll click, and that clicks in with some other stuff, and away you go again. Because learning is plateaus, jumps as well. So
Jayne, final words, what would you have to say to all the other mums out there that has 3 kids?
I would, consider getting into property investment as a vehicle to create wealth for your future. And the sooner you do it, the better, because obviously, over time, property is a long-term game, and the sooner you get into it, the better,
Cool.
for your future wealth position.
Okay. Thank you very much.